like one of the areas that I'm particularly drawn to is what areas of psychology are too deep to touch, in the sense that, like, I have a phobia of butterflies, right? I've had it since I was 4. I According to my mum, I walked up to a bush when I was on holiday in South Africa. It was immediately after my parents split up. And I walked up to this bush and I hit it with my bucket and spade. And all of these butterflies came out and flew into my face, and it startled me, and I was scared stiff. And ever since then, terrified of butterflies. Well, I mean, as you know, I'm 41 now. I can sort of handle them, but I will walk away from them. And if one of them flies in the house, I'm leaving the room, sort of thing.
Good strategy.
Thanks. Yeah, it's worked for me. So I would imagine that with CBT or with therapy, like, somebody somewhere would sit me down and say, okay, well, like, what is it that you're feeling when you see a butterfly, and you got to you got to like don't focus on the butterfly, focus on where you are and all that. No, what would you what would you say?
Not a bad thought. It's kind of intuitive to think about that, but that would presuppose a belief that feelings underlie all our behavior, and that's simply not true.
Right.
The psychoanalysts, the novelists, all the people who write great literature in psychiatry would say that emotions are the most important thing in a person's life in understanding why they have their behavior. That simply is not true. Unless you do some work in the field and you realize it's not true, it's very intuitive to believe that of course it's true. It's just like it's self-revelatory, isn't it? That emotions are the most important thing. It's simply not true. They are equally important with cognitions and physical sensations, but they're not the most important thing.
But it's like, if you go back to the fear of so I see a butterfly come into the room, and it's a visceral fear, like I'm getting adrenaline in my stomach.
Let me just stop you there.
Sure.
And the reason I'm jumping in to stop you, I'm giving you an idea how I do the therapy. Someone says something, I want to jump in and grab it right at that moment to interrupt that for a couple of different reasons. So I'm not just trying to be a jerk about this.
Sure.
And feel free, you can interrupt me too. But the work of CBT is sort of catching things when people say things and they don't realize they're saying it very casually, but they are programming themselves. So when you say something like it's a visceral response, you're programming yourself that you have a visceral response. I don't conceptualize what happened to being a fear response at all. That's not my conceptualization about what happened. However, after all these years, you said it happened when you were so young, all these decades later, clearly you've convinced yourself that it's a fear response. And you have a physiological sensation, what you call the visceral response, that is an association to seeing a butterfly. When I think, in fact, the butterfly is not the issue. The butterfly happened to be there, or 1,000 butterflies happened to be there at the time. But it's not the butterfly. The butterfly is simply a representation of what happened. That is the way I would conceptualize it. Now, if you were in therapy with me, we talk about it more. Maybe I would have to adjust my hypothesis to something else. But clearly, you have a physiological response, no question about that. And your physiological response, if that is the first reaction you have when you see a butterfly, that physiological response then triggers an associative emotional response, which then triggers an associative cognitive response. So first you have a trigger, like a ping to your central nervous system, and then it lights up cognitions and emotions, right? So it could happen the other way around. You could have had a ping to your central nervous system that activated an emotion, say sadness or something like that, or happiness,
right.
Giggling. And that would then light up cognition, then light up physical sensation. The laws of association in behavioral psychology, they're immutable. They go cross-culture, they go cross-generation, they affect everyone the same way. People who have maybe some motivation in any one of a number of areas would prevent people from understanding that, because if more people understood that, more people could change their lives for the better. And really, a lot of times sociology, psychology, psychiatry have been agents of social control, not really to help so many people. Like when you have organizational psychologists go in for a business, the people who bring them in, they don't really want the business to change very much. They want their employees to behave better. That's all they're interested in. They don't want their employees to have better lives and be independent and then realize, oh my God, what am I working for this person for? And go and start their own company. They don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons that they want to hold people back and not have a lot of psychological information known. That's why they have cut back a lot on paying for psychological testing and insurance companies, and that's why they want to go more for medication. If you can medicate someone, you keep them a good little soldier. They never ask any questions, right? And they manage to live with their misery. A cognitive behavioral psychologist wants people to rise above that.